Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is David Novak. I have been dipping into Edmund Wilson. This is the second volume of a two-volume Library of America set. I read all of these things many years ago before this edition came out and not looked at anything by Wilson since. So I am dipping back in lately and finding myself charmed all over again. So I thought I would read a couple of paragraphs from a piece titled A Toast and a Tear for Dorothy Parker. Rereading Dorothy Parker in the Viking Portable Library has affected me rather unexpectedly with a distinct attack of nostalgia. Her poems do seem a little dated. At their best, they are witty light verse, but when they try to be something more serious, they tend to become a kind of dilution of A.E. Housman and Edna Millay. Her prose, however, is still alive. It seems to me as sharp and as funny as in the years when it was first coming out. If Ring Lardner outlasts our day, as I do not doubt that he will, it is possible that Dorothy Parker will too. But the thing that I have particularly felt is the difference between the general tone, the psychological and literary atmosphere of the period, the 20s and the earlier 30s, when most of these pieces of Mrs. Parker's were written, and the atmosphere of the present time. It was suddenly brought home to me how much freer people were in their emotions, in their ideas, and in expressing themselves. In the 20s, they could love, they could travel, they could stay up late at night as extravagantly as they pleased. They could think or say or write whatever seemed to them amusing or interesting. There was a good deal of irresponsibility and a lot of money and energy wasted, and the artistic activities of the time suffered somewhat from its general vices, but it was a much more favorable climate for writing than the period we are in now. The Depression put a crimp in incomes, and people began to have to watch their pockets. Then they began to watch their politics. The whole artistic and intellectual world became anxiously preoccupied with making sure that their positions were correct in relation to the capitalist system and the imminence or the non-imminence of a social revolution. They spent a good deal of time and print arguing with one another about it. Some writers who had been basing their work on the uproar and glamour of the boom grew discouraged and more or less stopped. The young writers who came out of college were likely to be short of cash and have no prospect of easy jobs. They were obliged to be circumspect. The tougher ones tried to work with the communists or other radical groups. The more conventional became professors. Some tried to do both at the same time, with uncomfortable and unsatisfactory results, for they found themselves in the situation of being obliged to worry about both their standing with the academic authorities and the purity of their political line. With the writings of Dorothy Parker, you are still as far away from all this as you are with those of Scott Fitzgerald. It goes on, but I thought that was delightful. Of course, we are on the cusp of a time when writers are going to have to become excessively circumspect about anything that they write. Freedom of speech has been done away with, and in fact, if you say the wrong thing, they will abduct you without any kind of a warrant, without any due process, and disappear you, as the phrase goes. I remember when I first heard that coinage, people were disappeared. It struck me as so odd. It couldn't be correct, but time has shown indeed that it is a valid usage of the English language and the root word disappear. And till now, it was always something that one recognized in other locations. Of course, now we have it here. I have to say, it seems to me that Dorothy Parker is much more widely read today than Ring Lardner, I would say. We'll see how that lasts. I can't count the number of writers and so forth that have expressed an especial love for the writing of Dorothy Parker. I think I have a playlist with some ballades, and she was a writer with a particular fondness for the ballade form. So I will leave that off. Perhaps I'll link some of that in the description box. Thank you very much for stopping by my channel.